Hello, and welcome to the Italian Cultural Institute. Thank you for your patience. For those of you who are new here, I'm Valeria Romori, the director of the Italian Cultural Institute. Welcome to you all for this very special evening. So this evening event, Pininfarina, Art, Culture and Design, is organized on the occasion of the first Giornate del Contemporaneo, Italian Contemporary Art Days, and opens the week of Italian language in the world, which runs from October the 15th to October the 21st. We are really thrilled and honored to have Silvio Angori, CEO and COO of iconic Italian design firm Pininfarina, with us this evening. Thank you, Silvio. He also gave a presentation at the Southern California Institute of Architecture today in downtown Los Angeles. After his presentation this evening, he will receive the IIC Creativity Award for his lifetime achievement and for being an ambassador for the Giornate del Contemporaneo. Silvio Angori was awarded a master's degree in theoretical physics at La Sapienza University in Rome and a master's degree in business administration at the Booth School of Business, University of Chicago. From 1989 to 1990, he was a researcher at the Augusta Westland Helicopters. In 1990, he worked at Centro Ricerche Fiat near Turin, now Fiat Chrysler Automotive, as a senior researcher. In 1994, he joined Arvind Meritor Inc. in Detroit, holding various management roles, becoming general manager and CEO of national branches, transnational operating units, and global divisions. In January 2007, he joined Pininfarina as Chief Operating Officer. In 2008, he was co-opted as director in the board of directors, and he was elected Chief Executive Officer of Pininfarina Group, the position he holds today. During his tenure, he has led the relaunch of Pininfarina, transforming it from a coach builder into a boutique design house, and even more. He will tell you a lot about it. I just learned that this morning. He completed a major business turnaround, positioning Pininfarina to lead the path forward the new world of design. He is a member of several entrepreneurial associations and their status boards. He is a compulsive reader of novels, essays, treatises, and magazines on various topics, preferring philosophical, natural, and physical sciences, design, poetry, and figurative arts themes. This passion has led him to work with the Indice dei Libri del Mese, the oldest and the most prestigious literary magazine, which is like the New York Review of Books, the Italian version of, very prestigious. This event tonight is presented with Pininfarina, S.p.A, and Pepperdine University, SciArc, and in collaboration with Obica USA. And I would like to personally thank Raimondo Boggio of Obica for his support for this event. I would like to thank Silvio Angori, of course, and his collaborators of Pininfarina for organizing this event with the Italian Cultural Institute in Los Angeles. As a courtesy to others now, please ask you to turn off or silence your cell phones for the whole duration of the presentation. And I would like to invite you all to upcoming events at the Institute celebrating the Week of Italian Language. On October the 18th, we will host a presentation about the magical world of dubbing in Italian voiceover artists, some of the very best in the world, and it's entitled Look Who's Talking. On October 23rd, for those of you who love cinema, we will screen the feature-length film Finding Camille by Bindu De Stopani, which won awards at the Venice Film Festival, and the short film Invisible Trajectories by Luc Walpoth, who will be here in attendance. Both films are Italian-Swiss productions, and the event is organized with the Swiss Consulate General in Los Angeles for the Week of Italian Language. On October the 25th, last but not least, we will hold with University of California, Long Beach, a great partner of the Italian Cultural Institute, a book presentation and it's New Italian Migrations to the United States by Laura Ruberto and Joseph Shora, which explores Italian immigration from 1945 until today. Now, without any further ado, I would like to welcome to the stage, with a very warm round of applause, Silvio Angori.
Well, good evening to all of you, and thanks for this invite. And I'm honored, and it is my privilege to address you tonight about the world of design. And that is quite an important thing that I'm going to do with you. I walk through a few steps that the design has taken in the last decades, and to see where it's trending towards, starting from us, from what we do at Pininfarina. Now, I wish to convince you tonight that design makes the world a better place to live. I'm not sure whether I will be able to, but at least I will try. Let me get started with showing you a short video about Pininfarina.
Turn on?
That's okay. Okay, technology. Now works, should be working.
It started with a dream. A dream born in Italy more than 8 decades ago by a visionary man with the desire to create beauty around the human experience. Take everyday objects and transform them into works of art. This is the story of a singular obsession, an enduring passion, a family tradition. This is the story of Pininfarina. At Pininfarina, we believe that tradition inspires innovation, that form and function are one, that timeless beauty provokes strong emotion, and that a visionary style can literally shape the future. From a passionate new take on luxury and motion, to the ultimate symbol of human achievement, to soaring designs for modern living, to objects of timeless beauty. Pininfarina is the magic driving emotion. Pininfarina, elegance, purity, innovation.
So, design shapes the world, and as this video that just shown you is proving, at least is trying to. Now, one thing that I wish to start elaborating with is what is the antagonism between art and technology, the aesthetics and functionality? Well, design in essence is the combination of the two, really. And when in our teams we see engineers talking to designers, in reality you will not be able to distinguish who does what, who is he. Now, I think that from the standpoint of who is running a business like some of us do, that are not designers, one of the most important elements to consider is what design is, as to whether this is an economic art or something close by. Well, but this has been taught already long ago, because you might recall the Design Patent Act in the 1887 that the American Congress that spelled out something that has become an in-question truth. That is that if it is design that sells an article, it is the design that makes an economic profit from anything that is created and that is then born to life. Now, that is, I think, something that we have not to forget. What is, in essence, that this statement says? It says that if an object is nice as an aesthetic value, then it sells. If it is not that way, it doesn't, right? And in business, that matters that much. Now, in this context, we're talking about industrial products, be it a building, a machine, a ship. All of them takes birth as lifeless objects, and design breathes the soul into machines. It is the soul that conveys emotions, feelings, experience, all becoming the distinctive trait of a product. Now, aesthetics codes can be expressed in a pure manner as they are representative of a time period. A statue of Fidia or the Pietà Michelangelo, both are expressions of their times. And but equally, aesthetics codes can be applied to objects that have a function in our daily lives, such as measuring machines or other devices. Now, where then that the Italian roots come into play when we talk about design? Well, our designers, our engineers, all of us, even if we are not designers, while staring out the window every day, and when we wake up, we find the same landscapes, the same architecture, the same essence of the Italian beauty, as in this painting of Piero della Francesca. But it is not just beauty that we breathe in Italy. It is even engineering. An Italian was Leonardo, the greatest engineer of all times. He conceived extraordinary machines as well as the Gioconda. Therefore, the perfect balance between form and function makes the design. Italian design combines the concreteness of traditional craftsmanship and the spirit of experimentation. By integrating the beauty of design into mass production, Italian design has fostered the coexistence of art and industry along a mutual development processes. That few traits give a hint as to why Pininfarina is the quintessential of the Italian design. Now, as designers is fully integrated in the society in which he lives, he receives constant cultural stimuli. He's part of the culture, and this comes into play what Valeria has spoken, introducing me. And it is that I have the great privilege of being chairman of one of the most the oldest independent literary review magazines of Italy. Now, what's the link there with design? Really, it is not that much of a link, except the fact that designers, like everybody of us, lives in this society, and therefore, what they do is the reflection of what the society gives them, and vice versa. So, designers are part of the living cultural environment in which they live. And this magazine, in particular, why I'm referring to is not just because I'm serving there, trying to help them, but in particular because I think it is making a major effort of contributing to the diffusion of the Italian language across the world. Who I think lives outside of Italy might want to see how the cultural environment of Italy is evolving, and that I think is one of the best examples of the best ways according to which we can be connected with Italy, particularly this week, that is the week of the Italian language in the world. Now, let's go back to what I was talking earlier on about the fact that the essence of design is to create objects that have endless beauty, as the son of the founder of Pininfarina put in his statements. And but what design stands for? Well, when you talk about design values, our design values, you can then recognize them in every object or in every service that we design. And these are three attributes: that is elegance, that is purity, that is innovation. Now, what is a brand? A brand is what a company does at its best and does it continuously over time. So is driven, so you build the brand based on what you do at your best, right? And in fact, what you do is, when you design something and you use elegance, you use purity, you use innovation in creating any object, well, that is what is going to define the brand. And after 88 years since the existence of the company, this is what stands for our brand. The many Ferraris that we have been designing witness how the beauty can be translated into real products, and our design is instrumental for its beauty to happen. That is the synthesis between aesthetics and functionality with a soul. That soul that feels emotions and passions. Now, design is not only linked with design. Design, indeed, is the key factor to develop meaningful customer experience. And I'm taking you through now for a few moments about what it is, in a phrase, in a buzzword today, the immersive reality, where design plays a major role, is a major contributor. In fact, today, when we conceive a product or a service, we have to, first of all, realize that each and every end user is unique. So it's not that you just define a service or a product and you put up in the market and that would be selling and you will make money. That is not true anymore, okay? End customers are looking for something special for them. They want to be treated as a unique. So therefore, when you are designing an object or a service, and I'm insisting on the word of service for reasons that will be clear in a moment, then what we have to do is to make sure that we prepare the customer, the end customer, for its journey. Because it's a walk through emotions that would make him loyal to the brand. And it will be then continuously coming back to you. Now, using an analogy, let me show you what we did a few years ago, designing the Eurostar, the interiors of the Eurostar. Eurostar is a high-speed train that runs from London to Paris. And the idea behind the design is that we wanted to make sure that the physical journey of the customer, of the traveler, was in reality a journey on his patience, on his mind, so that he would then be he would have been creating this experience, a loyalty to Eurostar. Eurostar is in competition with the airlines that are taking people from London to Paris by a plane. So, therefore, when we talk about customer journey, looking at this analogy of a physical journey, we have to design an emotional journey. And that is what is the customer experience, the customer journey that everyone is talking today. Well, this customer journey sometimes is not a physical movement, okay, but is a journey through time. Such as, for instance, when you are living in an apartment of yours, okay, where you go through the different rooms, and you are wanting to experience something special, that it makes yourself home, right? Now, let me show you a video of a high-rise that we have conceived and that has been just opened back in March in Brazil. Well, this high-rise seems to be designed by the wind, right? There is not a front, there is not a back. it is, from whatever angle you look at it, you can see something different, right? And it is respectful of the environment. I could elaborate a lot about how this building has been conceived, how smart it is, and how many people have contributed to this development. And for the time being, let me tell you that when we are designing and conceiving these objects, we are involving quite a number of different competencies, not just designers or engineers, but we are talking about philosophers. We have historians, we have psychologists, sociologists. You may wonder as to why this is the case. Because the level of sophistication of the end users is so high that if you don't involve these kind of competencies, you will never be able to design something that would suit their interests, that would make them then becoming your loyal clients, your loyal customers. You will not be probably treating them so special as they deserve. Let me talk about, well, this is another example of an interpretation of a building that is part of an environment. This is the air control tower in Istanbul that is becoming the largest airport in the world, that is going to be inaugurated next week, 25th of October. And you see, I'm not a designer, so I will not elaborate on the reasons as to why the design is such, the aesthetics of it is as it is. I mean, that is a tulip, and that has a link with the Turkish culture. But that building is meant to be completely part of an ecosystem around it, with people visiting the underneath of it where there is a very large mall, and where the function of the art, for which this building has been conceived is just limited to the upper part, but all the rest needs to be part of the living environment. And again, in this case, there would be a reminiscence of the history of Turkey, okay? That becomes then the history of the world, to say so, because historians might be telling us that certain symbols and certain signs that you see in that building are reminiscences of some paintings seen in some caves in the inner part of Turkey. Okay, so this is the link, and you will not be probably seeing them if no one would be explaining them to you, but in essence you will see anyhow. You will go through the experience without knowing what it is. And on another field, think about, and I'm talking now about immersive reality and augmented reality. Think about a football stadium, a soccer stadium. This is the stadium of Juventus in Torino that we have designed a few years ago. We have designed the interiors of this stadium. The point is that people that are watching the game are not there just to watch the game. They are there because they go through an entire set of emotions. It's their journey. Because football is passion, like some other sports. And whilst they are there, they have, I mean, the duty of a designer is to solicit all kinds of different emotions that would end up having these guys watching a game. So all the environments that you see in that stadium and others that we have designed, for instance, in Russia for the World Championship, were designed having that in mind. Again, it's the user experience, it's the customer journey that we have to design. And there is one thing that I want to tell you, is that these guys are all connected by what? By the passion for their team, the Juventus in this case, or the opponents of Juventus. But connection and the connected world is the new buzzwords. And in fact, in this case, let me quote a phrase of a research firm that says that by 2020, more than 26 billion of people devices will be connected. And then you talk about the smart cities, smart devices, the home domotics, and so forth. So these 40,000 people watching the Juventus playing are connected through something that is their passion for a team, right? But they've gone through an entire set of other emotions, because from the moment that they left home or they bought the ticket for the football game, that it is then that started the journey, their journey. A designer has to have this in mind, because then he will be able then to please these guys that will come there, will gather there, will share their emotions together, like if they were all connected. And let me show you this. You know that in Italy is standard habits in the morning to take an espresso. You take it, you drink it, standing up. You don't sit at the table, just in front of the counter of a bar, what we call bar. And when you get into that bar, what you smell the flavor of the coffee. That is something that reminds you, when you get there, that the same journey repeats itself. Now, how do you do that? How do you capture this morning journey? Well, we have conceived a machine that dispenses coffee. That machine, after a few times, and this is where artificial intelligence is used, would recognize what is that you like the most. And it would smell, for instance, it would put some dust of smell in the air when you approach the machine. All right? Isn't that cool, this one? All right? So you feel harmed then, right? And this is what is customer journey, this is what is customer experience, this is how the world is trending towards. And then, when you design such a human-to-machine interface, now you trust me, you believe me that I'm not cheating you when I say that you have to have this kind of competencies that are not limited to someone that has good hands and he drafts something. But you have to have psychologists, sociologists, urbanists, and so forth. Now, I could talk for hours here, so I'm not going to continue. But let me go back for a moment to something very interesting about connectivity and how the world of automobile is changing. Well, you know, yes, we are best known for having designed some of the best cars that have made the history of the automobile industry. And this is why I'm going to be trending now, even in the interest of time, right? Now, what is another task of a designer? Is to anticipate the future, right? So designers, we're looking at not futurologists, but to designers to shape how the technology will be used in the most efficient and aesthetic way. There is a major change nowadays in the automobile industry. Why? Well, because you know, automobile cars are part of shared mobility services. They are in some part, I mean, in a few years, there will be a big divide between vehicles that will be used, as I said, as part of mobility service, and others that will be used for the pleasure of owning them and driving them. But if you don't need to drive a car, what you're going to be doing then in the morning when you are taken from point A to point B, you want to have an environment that is very close to the one that you prefer at home. But because this car is shared and therefore is used by several people, well, you want to provide these individuals the ability of making the environment the closest to what they want. This is the major change that is happening in the auto industry. This is where interior designers are now part of the teams that are designing cars. And again, a car per se is not the ultimate goal of a designer, but is the design of the journey, the entire journey, from the moment that you call with the app your driverless car. And then you may want to have, and that is already happening in this case, today in certain cars of the shared services, you want to have a specific temperature in your car. You want to have some specific colors in the interiors of your car. And therefore, that is where the use of new materials comes into play. Think about fabrics that would be changing colors, and it would be changing consistency, and so forth. For instance, there is a Adidas in Germany that are studying this kind of behaviors of new technologies, new materials. That is the complexity that we are facing, right? Now, let me move a few slides over and to tell you another thing that is connected to what I said a few moments back. That is, designers need to envision the future. Now, I know that this is auto-referential to what Pininfarina has done in 2007, but I think it's a good example of how designers can make our lives becoming more real and anticipating the future. This car, you see the cockpit here, is called Synthesis, and is a concept car that was presented in 2007. Why so peculiar, this car? First of all, because it is an all-electric, full electric vehicle with electric engines on the wheels, where the electric energy is provided by fuel cells, right? Not batteries, lithium batteries, and so forth. And most of the attention was paid to the interiors of this vehicle. And why? Because this architecture of engines on the wheels, not the standard powertrain, had allowed that much space in the passenger compartment. And therefore, designers had to think how to use it in the best interest of the passengers. It is not, and that is exactly what I was telling you before. So this has been done 11 years ago. And this car was meant to be connected at all times. At that time, 2007, we had maybe 1G. 5G was not even thought about. So now, what is, in essence, that I'm trying to tell you? Well, just repeating myself, what the message that I wish you to keep in mind is that design is interpreting the future, is anticipating the future. And it has to, and that, I think that designers have a social responsibility to making sure that aesthetics and technology are merged together, that indeed anything that we use or any service that we use is serving the purpose of pleasing the eye. Because in the end, that is passion, this is the emotions, this is how we are living, as I said, in a better world. And because we are designing cars, let me show you the last video of mine that is a electric vehicle that we have presented just at the beginning of this year in March at the Geneva Motor Show, and that I wish to show you, to share it with you. Give me 1 second. That should be it. So, anticipate the future, shape it for a better world. Thank you. I believe that we have time for a few questions. Well, yes, in several respects. First of all, even the car that you saw up there now has been developed using 3D different 3D technologies. We are using virtual reality to design mostly, in particular, the interiors of cars. Why we do this? Because the flexibility that this is given and the level of quality of the 3D immersive reality, virtual reality, is at a level today that resembles to reality. So we are using 3D technologies for it. Then we are using 3D printing technologies. So several elements of that car that you saw up there have been, that is a unique, a single car, right? So one-off. And lots of parts of that car have been printed with a 3D machine. What's the benefit? The benefit is time, benefit is money, because you don't need tooling, and you can then be faster. And you can then change shapes as you wish. So yes, the digital world is changing the way in which designers are conceiving the products, are developing the products and services as well.
I noticed that from the very beginning of Pininfarina's designs, they're all very soft, flowing, curved lines. And your architecture has a very soft, curved line to it, and a variety of the other objects. Is that part of the research of emotion and experience, that the soft, curved line is a more acceptable form?
Well, your question is very interesting from different points of view. The first thing is that I think that when the first lines were conceived in 1930, there was not that much theoretical research behind. It was an act of passion, an act that was coming from the interpreting the reality in a specific way. But then, as everything goes, we always tend to find reasons behind things, right? And in fact, we tell that our cars or our objects are designed by the wind. Because in fact, if you look at the lines and the purity of the lines, this seems to be shaped by the wind. More in particular, because don't forget, I'm a physicist and I'm running a business, so I need to look to make sure that the money comes. We have one of the most advanced wind tunnel in the world, and that has been created in 1970 and continuously upgraded. So almost all of our products are tested in the wind tunnel, and therefore this is, yes, the flows, the wind, has something to do with our design ever since. I'm sorry, but I don't see. I have a very strong light in front of me, so I don't see who is talking.
Over here. I just wanted to find out, the last car that you showed us.
Yes.
Was it done as a design study for Pininfarina, or did you have a specific client that you did that car for?
Yes, we had a specific client, but every client that comes to us comes with a reason that he gives us a brief that says, I want a sporty car, I want that this car is going to be used by a young family, so we need maybe 4 seats, 5 seats, a large, long bonnet, whatever it is, right? And then we are given the freedom that the liberty is given to designers to conceive according to the aesthetics canons of Pininfarina, what the product should look like. So yes, it is designed for a specific client, but it's the interpretation of that brand according to our own views.
You talk about the use of 3D technology in the design process and in the manufacturing process. You also mentioned that the future and current customers are interested in a very customized experience. Are you studying the use of virtual reality and augmented reality to create that experience versus the research in changing materials?
That's right. Yes, we do. And let me give you another example. We have designed, when we talk about designing the customer experience, I mean, the best example that comes to my mind is in the car industry, but I will make another example that is in the telecommunication business. And in the car industry, you see, particularly here in this part of the world, there are lots of startups. People that are putting up, they are incorporating companies to conceive and develop and manufacture vehicles. In reality, what they are intending to do is not only being another automaker, but really being another service provider of mobility. Okay, and when they come to us and they say, well, you know what, I want to have this car that is part of this service. What we tell them is, you have first to define what are the values of your brand. What do you want to convey? Why do you want to be different to what is already in existence today? And if that is and when they say, okay, well, these are the values that we are animating us. All right, beautiful. Money is the value that everybody is talking about, okay? But let's put that aside. And then we start designing, identifying for them what is the positioning of the brand, of their brand. Once you do this, that comes directly from the values that they have shared with us, then you start defining what is the product should be looking like. And you do that through virtual reality. And then you have to design the retail points. How do they sell and how they sell these products? So when you walk through a dealership, for instance, you can't have all the variances of the vehicle that you would like to buy. Then we have designed virtual reality devices that would then present to you as a customer the different options that you have. And you can change immediately, interactively, colors, all the different optionals that you have in your car that you want to have. So that is the use of virtual reality or augmented reality. And then what is true in the car industry is the same in the telecommunication business. You see what? Retail industry is going through a major change, radical change. It's not just because of Amazon, but because of the way in which we, all of us, as consumers, are intending to use the point of sale. If you go, for instance, to a pharmacy today or to any Walmart and so forth, how do you want to experience that? How do you want to live this? How do you want to take delivery of things? It is not just taking them from a shelf and then putting in your trolley. I mean, you can do that differently. You can do that at home. If you have a device that would immerse you in that virtual retail shop, that is, again, the experience that you want to go through. That is why the digital world is changing our habits completely, and for the better, I think. There are just a couple. Let's take the last two, okay? May I? Okay. Because I saw two hands.
So you mentioned the importance of aerodynamics during the design process. So who has the last word, the designer or the aerodynamicist?
That is an interesting debate, a very interesting one. That is healthy, is really healthy. You have to have strong, stubborn people in both sides of the house. You need to have very strong designers as well as very strong engineers. And you cannot give up too easily and too soon. You need to push the two teams to get, sometimes one against the other, you know, because if they take the easy route, well, probably that product won't be flying, okay? And that, I think, is in the end, what who has the final word on a product has to do. He has to make sure that the aerodynamicist and the designer are not coming too soon to an agreement. They have to push the envelope really till the end. That is what is make a wonderful design. Well, I have few designers on my team here, so they can elaborate a bit more on it.
Yeah, I would like to talk to them later if that's possible.
Yes, they will.
Thank you.
They will be pleased.
I think I know what Pininfarina means by elegance, but what do you mean by purity?
That is interesting. What purity means? Purity means what is the least possible sign, the simplest volume that you can use to convey emotions, to convey what you want to convey. So it is designing with less as opposed to with more. I don't want to be offensive to anyone, but I'm taking the liberty of expressing my opinion freely. When you see a car with too many signs, too many things that have nothing to do with the functionality of it, probably the design language that has evolved to a point in which they were unable to use it to say anything more. Once you see a car or an object that is made up by 2 or 3 simple signs, well, that is purity. I've showed you at the beginning a car that is a sort of a space shuttle. It's just 2 lines. It's a car called Modulo that was conceived in 1970. 1969 was the first man on the moon. And that car is two lines, or even 1. It's just the curvature on the upper body. And then there is an horizontal line that is the ground. 2 lines, that is purity. Is that the white vehicle that you showed with the black spots? I couldn't hear. Yeah. Okay, yes. Yeah, simple answer. I didn't. Okay. All right. Thank you. Shall I go?
No. You should stay. You should stay. Definitely should stay. So I'd like to thank you for this extremely engaging talk you gave after, especially, and I'm very honored and pleased because you gave another long talk this morning at SCI-Arc as well. So it is now my true honor and pleasure to present you with an award. I know that Silvio Angori has received very many awards, the last of which was like a week ago in Paris. He received a Eurostar. This is nothing compared to that. But on this very special occasion, and I'll present it to you. On this very special occasion, Silvio Angori is twice an Italian ambassador. So on the occasion of Italian Contemporary Days, I'm presenting this to you for being an ambassador for Italian design, of course, iconic design, but also on the occasion of the Week of the Italian Language. And actually, it was the very same reason why Silvio Angori called me over a year ago, because he wanted to present the Indice dei Libri del Mese. So he's also representing the best of literary Italy today on the occasion of the Week of Italian Language. So I'd like to present you with this. It's made by, actually, talking about design, this is made by an iconic fashion designer, Emilio Cavallini. Especially women, probably they will know more about that, men more about Pininfarina. And he designed this. This is Italian nylon, and it's inspired by the Pantheon ceiling. So it is my true honor to present you this.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Good. Thank you.
Now, talking about Italian design, this is like the third phase, I would say, of our presentations here during a whole year. We presented Italia Bellissima, which was about Italian design traditions. Then we presented, and this is the reason why I'm going to call our next guest, Italian artist design, in a way, artistic design. So we have a beautiful exhibition that I strongly invite you to enjoy later. And tonight, of course, the third, last but not least, Italian design, let's say industrial design, which is, so we kind of concluded a path at the Institute, presented the best of Italian traditions, best of Italian art, and best of Italian iconic industrial design with Silvio Angori. Now, I would like to invite to the stage Riccardo Balbo. It's my pleasure because he was here, he accepted our invite to represent this exhibition we have in the gallery. He is board member and IED, which is Istituto Europeo di Design, is the beneficial owner of it, and it's the best design school we have in Italy. He will present this exhibition and project. It's called Not an Artist, Toy Boys Edition, which was organized by the Institute and yet on the occasion of the first Giornate del Contemporaneo, Italian Contemporary Art Days. The exhibit was curated by Igor Zanti and Jacopo Manganiello and depicts toy design through the work of Fidia Falaschetti, Jay Ladd, Massimo Giacon, and Simone Legno Tokidoki. The exhibit will be on view through November the 2nd. And I would also like to invite Fidia Falaschetti, who is here with us tonight, is one of for attending tonight's event and for being one of the leading artists of this exhibition. Thank you, Fidia. Now, please welcome with a very warm round of applause to the stage, Riccardo Balbo.
Good evening. When they say beneficial owner, something went wrong anyway, but that's fine. I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you very much to Valeria for organizing this and inviting me and inviting you all. Thank you very much to Sergio as well, because he was, Silvio, sorry, because he was giving a very intriguing kind of lecture, I would say, on design and all the components that spins around the design as it is. I'm a designer as a background. I've been the dean of IED. Well, let me shortly introduce what IED is. IED is a network of schools in Italy. We have 6 schools. We have an Academy of Fine Arts as well, 2 schools in Brazil and 2 schools in Spain. It started in 1966 in Milano, and basically it's a kind of different model of business and different model of approaching the design education. In fact, we deliver bachelor and masters in all the, let's say, fields and domain where design has a title to stay there. That means all the fashion topics and subjects, all the visual arts, design per se as car design, and interior design, product design, and all communication. Well, the innermost thing that stays inside the soul of this school is the fact that the model is related with a kind of triangle where students, industry, and professors are playing a role together. So actually, professors are belonging to industry. Industry is teaching in the school. So that's the reason why we have been collaborating, and still we are collaborating a lot with Pininfarina in some sector, obviously. And this is very much related with what is made in Italy. And so I'm now sitting in the board of, I'm a board member of the foundation Morelli, that was the founder that passed away last year, and he left everything to this foundation. So I'm very honored to be sitting in this. Well, I'm here to. I'm not an artist. That is the truth, and this is also the title of the exhibition. So I'd like to give you just a couple of hints on that, and then my friend Fidia Falaschetti will be happy to answer to questions about his work on the overall meaning of this exhibition. I was just, walking around in LA downtown this morning, and as an architect, I was visiting again for the second time the Frank Gehry Philharmonic Opera House and the concert hall. Well, when it was designed, the debate in all the schools of architecture was, this is not architecture. I mean, he is not an architect. And, well, in a way it was true, but he was exactly touching on the point where the blur of professions and the blur of fields and the blur of domains is there. So it's a very postmodern approach. I mean, he is one of the major interpreters of postmodern architecture. So taking that as something, now let's try to go back to is not an artist. Why is not an artist? They are artists very much. But in a way, they are fading, being an artist, being artists into design. What does it mean? Well, design, we had this presentation, and in a way, we have now the intriguing address of what is design. That means shaping the future, means interacting with society. It means just producing products, but it's also taking care of the process, taking care of the journey. So in a way, those artists and the culture of toys is very much close to this approach. Those artists are, let me say, fading, being artists into design skills, design field, design domain, using technologies, using techniques, using production processes, using languages that are belonging or should belong or were belonging to the design domain. So this fading culture is what is very interesting, and what is really one of the questions we are posing ourselves in our school, and we are posing to students, because in order to be prepared to approach the design market, let me say, as a professional in the future, you have to be very careful not to be, close by your own borders. So this was the reason. I mean, it started like a reflection, internal reflection, and then like a Rolling Stone. After sometimes we went through this reflection on art and design, and then we contacted the artists we know, and we organized this. So the exhibition you have there with 4 different artists, 4 different languages is very much on this fading thin line between being artist and being a designer. And, well, I think you will enjoy it, so I will let you now enjoy the evening, and thank you very much.
So I'd like to thank you once again. I'd like to remind the names too. I'd like to thank Silvio Angori of Pininfarina for his generosity today with 2 presentations in the one day, and also his wonderful team. I remember only 2 names, so I won't mention them all, but Dimitri Vicedomine, Michele Michele, sorry. Sorry, Michele. Let's call him by their first name. And the rest of the team that I met just today. So I don't remember all their names. They're very welcome here. So you can talk to them because they're also the designers. And last but not least, I'd like to thank very much Riccardo Balbo for this last minute invite of ours to represent YED. And Fidia Falaschetti, who is very generous with his artwork. And you're welcome to ask him questions. And I'd really like you to enjoy the exhibition and to come to our next events. And if you're not a member and you don't receive our invites, please do so. Give your email address and your name at the front desk, and we'll be delighted to send you our invites. And before I'd like to mention some other guests, actually. Ravi, I'll call everyone by their name now because I did this, with Michele, and is the president of CalArts, so he's very kind to be with us tonight. And I also like to thank once again Raimondo Boggia of OBK for their support and collaboration. Thank you to you all for attending, and I hope to see you for the rest of the Italian Language Week in the world, which is not just about Italian language, will be more about Italian cinema and, as you see, design. Thank you so much, and enjoy the show and a cocktail.